What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Ranger Central podcast. I, of course, am your host. You guys see me, you hear me all the time. You're annoyed by me, probably, especially because I want a certain player back, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. But we have a lot to get into. The Rangers are on a 5-game win streak and very, very good road trip. First time sweeping a five game road trip in franchise history. I'm here with Matt and Nico. Nick might make an appearance, but we'll see. He's back here because we're going to be going to the game tomorrow. So uh, we will be there. We will be there. So we got a lot to get into, though. Like I said, so we're probably not going to waste too much time with it. Just see who's in the chat. Rocco, what's going on? I'm glad you enjoy these. Zinks, how you doing? Freak, what's going on? You guys have been killing it with the views lately. We're getting like 400 views a stream now, which is ridiculous. I think the channel name change was a good idea. Although I was getting a lot of views when the Rangers lost to New Jersey in Game 5, when they lost to New Jersey in Game 7, when they lost to New Jersey in Game 4, when they lost to New Jersey in Game 3, when they lost to Tampa Bay in Game 6, when they lost to Tampa Bay in all the other games.
Game 5, Game 3, 4.
Yeah, and then of course when there was Mets content when they got killed by the Braves and lost the division. But anyway, we're not here to talk about me. Let's just get into it. So I didn't set up banners for this because I'm an idiot, but let's just talk about. I mean, I guess I could sort of edit these quickly, but what are the positives so far for you guys this season thus far? Who wants to start?
Matt, you can take it away.
Positive so far. I think definitely the power play has looked a lot better. We were concerned about it after the preseason. We're saying the power play doesn't look great, but we said before, Laviolette really at that time didn't really get his hands on the power play, and now it's looking a lot better. It's converting. That's good, and also that second line and Panarin in general. I mean, Panarin he looks like the Hart Trophy Panarin that we saw from 1920. And listen, we need that type of Panarin if this team wants any chance of winning a Stanley Cup this year. So yeah, good sign so far.
No, yeah, 100%. The way Panarin's playing is definitely way more up to caliber from what we've seen over the past few years. The only thing that worries me is that if the other guys don't start heating up, Panarin is going to run into some trouble. But yeah, he definitely looks like an early Hart Trophy candidate. It pains me to say, but I would still probably give the nod to Hughes right now, just because of the fact if you look at the Devils metrics right now, you could tell Jack Hughes is carrying that team because
no bueno.
Yeah, they do not play good defense. They have no good goaltending. Their early metrics are showing signs of a team that's that's Fugazi. And their power play is clicking just like the Rangers too. But yeah, with the Rangers power play, that's definitely been probably their biggest strength of the season thus far. And I was definitely concerned I wasn't too concerned because it was, I think, 2013, 2014, the year they went to the Cup, where they only converted on like 2 power plays in the preseason. So I wasn't too worried, but I also was questioning how it might look and how it might shake out. But yeah, they found their old ways. If anything, they're better now because you're seeing a lot more movement on the power play, where the past 2 years under Gallant with Mike Kelly running the power play, it was always just try to feed it to Zibanejad, and if Kreider tips it, he tips it, where now you're actually seeing creativity. You're seeing guys move around. Panarin not being afraid to go along the boards, which is what's really making me happy, because if he could start being more willing to take risk when he's playing, that's really going to go a long way for this team. So I agree that the power play has definitely been a big part of the Rangers' success thus far. Nico, what is your biggest takeaway?
I mean, obviously the power play is a good one. I think next to shift gears, you got to say the defense. I mean, we're used to the Rangers just absolutely being a free fall on the defensive end. Just any given game day, they could just be looking absolutely just lost, like Pee Wee hockey players back there, giving up just chances after chances. And
Yep.
I mean, Peter Laviolette has really tightened them up here on defense. I mean, look, they teams lately. I mean, they've been playing in like our offensive zone, especially the past few games against the Canucks and the Jets. But I mean, they don't really give up too many high quality scoring opportunities. They're in front of shots. They block shots. They're just playing swarming defense, and it's really just not a lot of people going out of position. Everyone's just playing their role and to perfection, basically. So. I mean, Rangers on defense has been really good this season, and it's just such a breath of fresh air to see because we've never seen it like this in past years here.
No, probably since John Tortorella was coaching the team and they were blocking like 50 shots a game. But yeah, that was probably going to be mine if you didn't mention it because I had a few. But yeah, the defense has definitely been far and away better than we've seen over the past decade plus. And there was people that were trying to tell me on Twitter that the season thus far is similar to the 2021-2022 season. I couldn't disagree anymore because that year they were strictly power play merchants and their defense was Igor bailing them out on a nightly basis. Like there's a reason that all of us Ranger fans argued he should have won the Hart. Imagine they played this defense in front of Igor Shesterkin the way he played that year.
Well, imagine if they had an actual system in that year.
Or if I mean that too. But if they just played defense, like they would Igor had what a 9. What was the save percentage that season?
Oof.
935 or something, right? Or was it higher?
Yeah, I think it was in the 930s for sure.
939. I mean, we're talking he might have had a save percentage of like 940 at the very least if they played this type of defense in front of him. So, yeah, I mean, Igor Shesterkin, though, he's definitely a bit off right now, which we'll talk more about, I'm sure. But, yeah, the defense has been night and day compared to what we've seen. I mean, David Quinn had no idea what he was doing. I think that's fairly obvious that he didn't know until Jacques Martin came in, had the defense tighten up a bit. But even then, there were still glaring holes on the defense. Granted, most of that was due to personnel, I would say, because of the fact that there were so many guys injured. Trouba had the concussion from the Matt Martin hit late that year. Like you had Anthony Boteto in the lineup, and you had Brendan Smith rotating between forward and D. And who else am I forgetting? D'Angelo was there for part of the year. Regardless, though, you get the point that the defense was a revolving door of plugs. Jack Johnson. How could I forget Jack Johnson played that year? But yeah, the defense definitely looks a lot better. And I think part of that, too, is definitely the personnel, which we'll talk more about that later, too, because there's someone that we're most definitely going to talk about that has improved the defense that they got this past offseason. But yeah, this is another thing, too. Keandre Miller, he had a hell of a road trip. Like, he was very noticeable on both sides of the puck, and he was not afraid to jump up on the rush offensively. And there's really only, like, 2 plays I can remember where I was really unhappy with them. One of them, I think he was on the ice for a goal, but the rest of that, there was only like a handful of plays, which you absolutely take that considering Keandre Miller used to make a ridiculous, like he would make 4 mistakes a game some nights. So Keandre Miller has taken a massive stride forward, which you want to see. Jacob Trouba's been a lot better than this is easily so far his best season as a Ranger. I don't think it's even close right now. Hopefully he could keep that up. And then the help from the forwards too. The neutral zone play a lot better. So yeah, to get to my positive of the season thus far, finally though, I mean, how could it not be having a competent head coach? How could it not be having a guy that actually knows the game of hockey behind the bench? And for all the people that said, oh, it's a retread, we want Spencer Carberry. Yeah, what is Spencer Carberry doing in Washington? I know the team's not good there, but what is he doing realistically in Washington? That's like, if anything, it's proving the point that the Rangers did the right thing and hired Laviolette because he took that horrible Washington team and made them at the very least competitive. So if anything, you're just making an argument for Laviolette at that point. And then there was the Patrick Waugh garbage. Where is he? Not coaching. Who else? Chris Knobloch. no, they were never going to go with a rookie coach. And then John Hines, you're telling me they were going to go with John Hines?
Oh no.
If that happened,
we would have never beat those allegations.
no,
That would have been bad.
We would have been in I can't stop saying it. We would have been in such a worse spot if Hines was here or Gerard Gallant. If Gerard Gallant was here, I believe this team is below 500. I truly deep down believe this team is well below 500. Like that Edmonton game, Jonathan Quick was good that game, but they might lose that game. They lose that game in Vancouver easily. They definitely lose the game against the Arizona Coyotes, the home opener. Nashville, they laid an egg regardless, so
they lose to Winnipeg probably.
Yeah, they probably lose to Winnipeg
they probably give up that lead in Calgary in the third period.
Yeah, Calgary too. They probably lose that game. There's the point is they would be far below 500 right now if Gerard Gallant was here, and that's another thing. I'm going to tie my two positives together because I have two here. It's the fact that we are getting a better start than I even asked for. At the start of the season, you guys can go back to past podcasts. You guys know, everyone knows it. I was worried about this team in October, adjusting to a new system, going to the West Coast, traveling, and only 2 home games. I was like, man, it's going to be a rough October. They're lucky if they come out of this thing 5-4. We're sitting here 7-2. Whether it's sexy the wins or not, they're 7-2, and they're not even playing their best hockey, and they're finding ways to win. You could only imagine that it's going to be better. Imagine what happens if the 5v5 offense even gets middle of the pack. This team could be, to quote Ben Simmons, it's going to be scary. It's going to be scary with this team.
Imagine what happens if a certain 88 comes back into the lineup.
That we'll talk about later too. So, they could really, they'll improve the 5v5 offense. I'm not too worried about that, but Laviolette actually understands the game. It's clear. Like, he's never satisfied with the efforts either. The only one he really was satisfied with was the Buffalo game, and rightfully so. That was definitely their best effort of the season, but it's about finding that consistently, and it's just, all you could do is wonder what would have happened last year if he was behind the bench when this team had a 2-0 series lead. That's all you could wonder.
I actually do have another positive, and I got to give credit to this guy because we were all concerned about him at the end of the preseason, and we said this guy isn't going to be reliable. I got to give credit to Jonathan Quick because a lot of people are overestimating that we got 2 wins on this 5-game road trip out of Jonathan Quick.
That's a big thing too.
And you got to be fair to Quick because even though in the Seattle game he wasn't really tested that much, when he had to make a save, he made a save. And in that Edmonton game, he was tested, and he made a couple of really big saves in that game. So I got to give credit to him, and I got to give credit to Benoit Allaire because, once again, he's proving why he's the best goalie coach in the NHL.
Yeah, and I'm just glad, too, that let's hope it's consistent. That's really the main key. But, yeah, if Benoit Allaire is definitely an unsung hero right now, if he could get anything out of Jonathan Quick, and like you said, they got 2 wins on the road trip with Jonathan Quick in that's huge because we were talking about the fact that the Rangers maybe should have cut him in after the preseason. He looked cooked. And for how long it took for Jarl Halak to actually get going here, I was worried. I was like, we might be in another situation where we're behind the 8 ball early in the year because we have a backup goalie that can't win you games. Now they have a backup goalie that's winning them games, and let's just hope that we don't have the reverse Halak here, though, and he starts off hot and then tails off later in the season, especially because if he tails off later, that's bad news because, 1, the playoff race gets tighter, 2, they're going to be playing more Eastern Conference teams, so that really means that the games are going to matter, and 3rd, you don't want to run Igor into the ground late in the year. You want him fresh come playoff time, so let's just hope that could stay consistent as much as possible. But and yeah, my mistake. Laugh for MVP. Hines is best friends with Drury. It would have been nepotism there if they hired him. That's truly what it would have been. And N-Wire for life, I understand the concern with the fact that they're over relying on the power play, but at the same time, those 5v5 numbers are very, very skewed right now, which I'm sure we're going to talk about the fourth line further, but that fourth line is single-handedly dragging down this team, not just offensively, but just in general. They're dragging down the play, but especially offensively. I think there's like 2 games that had a Corsi for percentage over 10%. And before anyone's in the comments and getting on me on Twitter like they were before, a fourth line doing their job? Oh, wow, what a surprise they're not doing anything offensively. That's not the point. They have to at least chip in a bit, because what made the Islanders go to back-to-back conference finals? Having a good fourth line that could chip in goals. And how did they wear other teams down and piss other teams off? They chip the puck in and they'd get in on a heavy forecheck, and it would annoy other teams, and they would clog the neutral zone with that fourth line and make it impossible for teams to get through. Instead, it just feels like teams blow by them in the neutral zone, and then everyone's like, oh, but Nick Bonino blocks a lot of shots. Yeah, that's great, but if they were making the plays in the neutral zone, he wouldn't have to block shots. So, yeah, the fourth line needs to be a hell of a lot better, which leads us, I guess, to what are the concerns from the season thus far. And outside of the fourth line, can anyone pick what their concern is?
To me, I think it's Kreider and Zibanejad not doing enough 5v5. I mean, they're cooking on the power play, doing what they need to do there, but I mean, it's just got to be better 5-on-5 from guys that are getting, like Chris Kreider, 6.5 million, Mika Zibanejad, our number one center, 8.5 million. He needs to get going even strength. Through 9 games this season, you don't have one even strength goal. And Kreider, I mean, how many even strength goals does he even have? 1, 2, I think.
He has, I think, 1 5v5 and then a shorthanded against Buffalo.
Shorthanded. So, yeah, I mean, there's just got to be more production from those two at even strength, plain and simple. They're your first line. Second line is heavily outperforming them with Panarin, Heedle, and Lafreniere. So, I mean, we haven't seen much from that line. I mean, I know the metrics are saying that they've looked good, but I need goals. I need like actual things to stem from that, and to go out there and win us hockey games. I know we've been doing that, but if they get going, that just makes you even more of a scary team to just be going against. So I think hopefully they do pick it up soon. I'm confident they will, but right now it's not what you like to see.
Not good at all.
Not good at all, indeed.
No, for me, I got a couple, but backing off what Nico said, that first line in general, because Mika and Kreider so far at 5v5 have not done enough. They've been too reliant on the power play so far, and it was great. Mika's got those 2 goals, but now you got to start picking up at 5v5. The goals have to come.
Yeah.
And the guy that I'm really disappointed about is Kakko, because even though Kakko is not playing terribly, he just doesn't look like that same guy that we saw in the preseason. The guy who was dominant down low, making plays along the boards,
possessing the puck a lot too.
Yeah, driving the play. He just hasn't looked the same. And I know it's still early, but the production has to come, because. And another big thing, this is the last year of his 2-year contract that he signed. So if the points aren't going to come, then the Rangers gonna have a tough decision on their hands with Kakko, either at the trade deadline or in the offseason after this year.
Yeah, I think that I said it in our group chat, and I'll say it here. I think that there's a realistic world where Kakko's moved at I stutter there completely, at the deadline if he's not picking it up at all. I think there's a realistic scenario where he ends up being moved for a guy with multiple years left on his deal, Frank Vetrano. But it could happen that they move him for a guy like that, because it would make sense, especially if it's a guy like Vetrano. It's a guy you're familiar with. It's a guy that helped your first line a lot. And it's a guy that has another year left at $3 million. So it would make sense. Obviously, the Rangers would get more, and it wouldn't be a 1-for-1 deal. But you get something like that, I think that you should at least consider it. And then I want to bring up the way that the first line is played, since we talked about that before, I'm gonna break it down the way that Phil did on his episode of The Final Buzzer. Go check it out there on Big Apple Hockey. He does great work. So do the rest of them. Even though Mark isn't perfect there, but
layup talk.
yeah, they still do good work there though. But yeah, the way Phil broke it down is just the way that they forecheck is just not efficient. You have the guy dump the puck in, forechecker one is in, but has nothing to do with it if he wins a board battle or makes a play because his two wingers are not supporting enough. There's just not enough puck support, nor is it happening carrying through the neutral zone. And that's really going to be, I guess I'll go into my negative, is the breakouts have to improve. The breakouts they have to, because that's part of the reason that the 5v5 offense isn't going the way that you want it to. The breakouts are not happening enough, and they're just not passing the puck as efficiently, even too, as we saw in the preseason. They need to be more clean on the breakouts and be able to get it out of their own zone so they're not pinned in their own end. And then they need to actually get a forecheck going, because there's not really a lot of players that look like they're willing to forecheck outside of guys on that second line. Even Artemi Panarin has shown more of a willingness to get in on plays and forecheck than all these other guys. And everyone calls Panarin soft. Well, he looks like the hardest worker on the team thus far, because I have not seen that level of forechecking from the rest of the guys. Because if you want to say Lafreniere's been the better forechecker on that line, fine, but you can't tell me Philip Hedl has. Philip Hedl, even with a sloppy play, that line's been good. Imagine what happens when he gets going. But yeah, I think that they need to improve the breakouts and the forecheck really to get going. But Matt, what's your concern?
Well, besides the first line, I would say our defensive 5v5 has been all right. It's our offensive at 5v5, and a lot of the things that we've been noticing over the last couple of games, especially on the road trip, is we've been getting offenses on pressure. But the only problem is once we get into the zone and we have that sustained pressure, we're not creating any high danger chances. And if like it's cool having all that pressure, but if you're not going to do anything with it, then it doesn't mean anything. It's a meaninless stat.
Yeah, exactly. They need to start getting more high danger chances, and it shocks me every time we see those charts that Valley puts out. And there are nights where the Rangers actually have like a decent amount of high danger chances, but the problem is also that sometimes it gets misskewed because people will be like, "Oh, the Rangers had more high danger chances than their opponents. See, they're doing enough." That's not necessarily the case. It's just that their defense is so good that they're limiting high danger chances. So the Rangers are not getting enough. They're getting like 7 to 8, which fine, especially if you're going to out high danger chance your opponent, but you need to get more than 8 a night.
And then another thing I would notice that I've noticed throughout this road trip is a lot of the times we start the game really well in the neutral zone, and then halfway and towards the end of games we do lose control of that neutral zone. Yeah. And I realized that, and it's been a big complaint of ours the last couple years, especially, that this team doesn't play a full 60 minutes. And I realized that the players are still adjusting to Laviolette's system. Not everything's it's not fully embedded yet. But I do hope that over these next couple months that we start seeing more games where from minute 1 to minute 60, the Rangers have a full dominant game where they're just on top of their opponent, and it just looks like the other team has no shot of winning a game.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And I want to address this comment. I don't know if I agree that Hedl's been underratedly good. He's been okay, but like there are nights where he just looks very, very sloppy. I forgot which game it was in particular. I know last game he looked pretty sloppy too, but there are nights where he just does not look like himself at all. And yeah, it's great that he got on the forecheck on that goal, but I could also point to some of the plays where he was turning the puck over way too much and it led to goals. So Hedl needs to be better, but he's the least of my concerns right now, because that line's still doing good enough with him not playing the best. I'm not saying that he's playing awful, but he could definitely be there's definitely 2 more levels to unlock here, to quote Giannis. Like he could be better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we can't complain obviously too much about that line at all, but we definitely like to see a little bit more from Philip Hedl. That Vancouver game, yeah, he was rough. That Vancouver game, that was probably his worst this season, but hopefully he gets going. I expected Filipino to the moon, like 30 plus goals this season, and really go off. And right now, I think he's got a lot of assists at that game against Seattle,
Yeah, I
where
think he
he
has
took the
6 assists on the year or point.
yeah 6 assists. I think it is with a goal. So hopefully you can get the goals going pretty soon. I mean, you got Panarin on your line who's gonna feed you all the time in perfect spots, so I'm not too worried. I think the goals will start flowing in for Filipino, and yeah, there really isn't a lot of concerns to point to this far. But I mean, if we had to point to a few, definitely the offense, 5v5, and then like the first line in specific.
The fourth
So
line too.
and the fourth line, obviously, yes. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot to be excited about the Rangers here. So hopefully it just keeps up.
This is a comment I started that I wanted to get to, which is why I brought up the fourth line too. Rangers expected goals for percentage, 49.3%. If you ignore the fourth line, 56.9%.
Damn.
So for anyone that tries to tell me that I'm being too harsh or I'm being delusional about saying that this
Just
fourth
show
line
them
needs
that.
to be better, the numbers show it. And again, I get that fourth lines in general are going to drag this number down around the league, but at the same time, you need a hell of a lot better than this. If you look at, I think they're the worst line statistically when it comes to offensive production out of any forward line. I saw that, and I wanted to vomit seeing a line that had Ross Johnston on it performing better. What are we doing here if Ross Johnston is on a line that's better? You know something's wrong. And it comes down to the fact that Barclay Goodrow sucks at hockey. Comes down to the fact that Jimmy Vesey has not been the same like he was last year. Tyler Pitlick's been sitting in the press box. And then what? They're going to move Blake Wheeler down potentially?
Maybe
No, it's like
worse.
He
it's
can't be here. He can't
it's
be here.
it's like what Phil said on the final buzzer the other night. You can't put Blake Wheeler on that fourth line with Barkley Goodrow, because that line's gonna get dominated. It's just too slow of a
Oh,
line.
yeah.
hmm
Yeah, if they put Wheeler and Goudreau on the same line,
And Benino.
I
Oh,
mean,
man.
That's wow, not good.
they might somehow be. I don't know if it's. I don't know. It's not possible, but it's possible in my world. They'll be the first team to have a negative Corsi 4 percentage. That like, or first time a line ever has a negative Corsi 4 percentage. There's no shot they're doing anything offensively at that point. So I'm being too hard on VC. What has Jimmy VC done that's stood out to you? Okay, he had a nice assist on a Braden Schneider goal. Okay. Is there anything else he's done that's really been impressive? And I'm not saying he's playing horrendous, but he's not at the same level like he was last year. And sure, maybe you could attest that to the fact that he has bad line mates right now and that the team is just not playing, or his line mates, I should say, are not playing well around him. Sure, maybe you could say it's that. But at the same time, I'm just not seeing it with VC that he's showing enough. Like, and the thing is, too, he was doing a lot more defensively last year, noticeable, too. If you look at the charts, too, it backs up the eye test that he's not doing as much defensively like he was last year. Last year, he was really, really a big staple on that fourth line, making plays and blocking shots. He's not doing that right now. He's not doing that right now. And Barclay Goodrow is doing even worse with that. So they need to find a way to cut ties with him if they can. And then Jimmy VC, fine, you could keep him around, but I'd imagine sooner or later he's going to be the 13th forward because for whatever reason, Barclay Goodrow needs to keep playing. Benino, they're not going to sit because of the faceoffs and the penalty kill. At what point, though, do we talk about Johnny Brzezinski being called up to add some speed to that fourth line?
Time for a conversation. It's time for a conversation because it's just so bad at fourth line. We always run into this issue. We don't ask for much, obviously, out of a fourth line, but as you said, look at the Islanders, man. Their fourth line extremely good, and they chip in and do their job, and boom, they have back-to-back conference final appearances. So,
Imagine if they had
um,
the top six we have with that fourth line.
oh my gosh, yeah, guaranteed winning the Stanley Cup, but it's so bad. You gotta definitely find a way to cut ties with Goodrow, as you said soon. I don't know why the hell he's still here, but okay. And obviously they're not scratching him because he makes 3.6 million. You can't make that look bad. I mean, Lavia probably wants to scratch him, but Drury refuses, is what I'd assume. So,
I would agree.
And
I
then
mean, there's got to be some touch-ups.
another excuse I see a lot of people make for this fourth line is they say, "Oh, but the fourth line they're not letting up any goals." And then I'm like, "Okay, cool." The only problem is they're getting hemmed into their zone the whole game, and eventually, if you keep putting pressure on that line, eventually the dam's gonna break and the goals are gonna come. I'm sorry, but the goal of a fourth line is to grind down the other team. Our fourth line
Yeah.
grinds down our own team.
You're not wrong. And you saw it in which game was it on this road trip where
It was
they
the
had
Vancouver game. They had a decent first period, and then
yep,
halfway through the second, that one shift, the fourth line came out, and all the momentum swang Vancouver's way.
yep, that was the one I was talking about. Yeah, Vancouver got all the momentum once the fourth line hopped those boards. They got all the momentum at that point in that period. They need to and I don't know what they do with Goudreau. Like you guys are saying in chat, you want Goudreau traded. I get it, but at this point, you have to question if Chris Drury has tried, but at the same time, I feel like he would have sat by now if they didn't like him. I don't know, but regardless, like there is no justification for him to be in the lineup. I don't want to hear anything about his leadership, his back-to-back cups. I don't want to hear any of that bullshit because at the end of the day, he's hurting the team and he's nothing like he was in Tampa Bay. And even then, Tampa Bay, you could say that Yanni Gourde, that line ran through Yanni Gourde. I don't even think actually it's something that, is just saying it to say it. I think it's clear as day that line ran through Yanni Gourde. And you could argue he was the worst part of that line.
Mhm.
So I can't hear justification. I don't want to hear about his leadership too, because when you bring up leadership and cups with Patrick Kane, who actually has a Conn Smythe to his name and all those other accolades, that doesn't
Something you can
matter.
respect.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. But Barclay Goodrow being a fourth line plug and having back-to-back cups, that's okay. So it's the put a shirt on meme versus empowering. So that's just what that is. Barclay Goodrow, they need to find a way to move him, and I don't know how they could do it. And I get that you're saying, look who VC's playing with, and I'm not noticing his speed this year. I'm just not noticing Jimmy VC play with the same intensity and speed like he did last year. I think last year he had a lot more of a chip on his shoulder because he wanted to prove that he could still play and that he needed and that he wanted a contract, especially after Sheldon Keefe called him vanilla and all that other shit that went on in Toronto. I think he wanted to prove that he could still play. He had a chip on his shoulder and he proved it. We're not seeing the same intensity, and it's times like this where you're seeing why he didn't get a bigger contract than we thought he might have, and why because everyone said it was a steal of a contract. Right now, it looks like he's being paid what he deserves because he is not really doing anything for the team that makes them that much better. So I don't know. I liked the fourth line last year down the stretch when they had Mott there too with Goudreau and VC, but they do not look the same way. You could argue the fourth line right now looks worse this year than it did last year when they had Carpenter, Blay, and Reeves on that fourth line. If saying that isn't a wake-up call, I don't know what is. I simply don't know what is. I'll statistically try and find it if you guys want to talk more about the fourth line, but I'm going to statistically look if that's factual too.
It probably is, honestly. I mean,
there ain't really much.
It's sickening.
There ain't really much to say about that fourth line unless you want to say you want to bawl your eyes out every time you watch them.
Absolutely. I don't know. Hopefully, the team starts to realize this sooner rather than later, because there needs to be changes. Johnny Brodzinski, just bring up someone like that. Oh, and I think we got some bad news.
It doesn't look promising.
No way.
So
There's no way.
I want everyone to guess the expected goals for percentage for the fourth line last year when it was Blake, Carpenter, and Reeves. This year, right now, it's at around 15.6%. What do you think that fourth line was?
Wait, it's 15.6 for the fourth line this year.
Yes.
Uh, 18.8.
23.
31.6. If that doesn't open your eyes to how bad this fourth line is, I don't know what will. A fourth line that had Ryan Reeves on it, Carpenter, who's isn't even good enough to make the San Jose Sharks roster, and then Sammy Blake, who was thrown in a package for Vladimir Tarasenko. That line outperformed what the fourth line's doing right now. And that line had 6 games, by the way. That line lasted 6 games. Even when they went for 10 games with Blais, Goudreau, Gauthier, 36.8%. Mark Williams' favorite, Julian Gauthier, that is. I don't know what to say after that. A disaster. I don't have many words.
I have no words for that.
After that 0% Corsi from last game, yeah, this fourth line just has nothing to it.
Wow, not good from left for MVP. Not ideal.
Not ideal. Not great.
Not acceptable. And here's another one. Expected goals against per 60. The fourth line this year is at 3.49 expected goals against. That just shows you too, like what Matt said before, this isn't sustainable, and eventually the dam's going to break and they're going to start scoring. Last year, the fourth line with Blake Carpenter and... Sorry, I'm looking at the one with Gauthier. I didn't look at the one with Reeves. Yeah, that fourth line, 1.96 goals against per 60.
Oh.
Almost 2 goals less than the fourth line this year.
And I love how people just try and sweep it under the rug because we're winning hockey games right now, that the fourth line's not an issue.
And
if you look at this,
it would be one thing if they were playing bad, but this is they're unplayable. They're actually unplayable at this point, and I don't want to hear excuses about the fact that they're winning games like Nico said. I don't want to hear any excuse. There's no justification to not make a change. I know you're 9 games in, but come on. Almost 2 goals apart. That's unacceptable. And then even the expected goals for percentage being that much higher, it's like, how could anyone justify this even with them winning games? Because like you said, like I'm going to keep repeating it, Matt, what you said, the dam's going to break. Especially Jonathan Quick. Let's be real. The first 2 games, what we saw from him, there's no way he's going to hold up that much every game.
Harsh reality. You cannot expect that every night from Jonathan Quick, what he gave us in Edmonton. So, yeah, I mean,
this isn't a matter of needing content, Rich. This is a matter of this is a problem. It's not reaching for content. They're bad. Sorry, Nico, I cut you off. What were you saying? I just got pissed.
No, just basically what you were saying. I kind of lost my train of thought. I was just saying, though, how... well, it was just saying that, like, the fourth line is a problem, and they're going to be exposed for it eventually if, like, as you said, Quick is not going to keep up this exceptional production he's gave us the past few times he's been in net here, or the first few games he's been in net. So they're going to be exposed for it eventually, and then we're going to be wondering, oh, why is this happening all of a sudden? I mean, the stats tell you the story.
And one more thing, guys in the comments, like, we're not being negative because we're picking out these deficiencies. We're picking them out because we're saying this team still has a couple of gears to go up. Like, cool, the team is 7-2, great start. But you can't look at me with a straight face and tell me that all those performances during those 5 games were perfect. There weren't, because there was a lot of times where the Rangers were hanging on, like in that Winnipeg game and in that Vancouver game.
Like,
and
we know.
And what was the 2 things? I mean, not 2 things, but what was the thing we were complaining about the last 2 years under Gerard Gallant? That we were winning, but we were winning by barely hanging on, and we didn't fix these deficiencies. Well, if you don't fix the deficiencies, eventually luck's gonna run out, and eventually you're gonna start losing these games.
Yeah, and it's not even just it's not even just with luck. Eventually, like you could at some point this fourth line's going to come back to haunt you. I don't care if they get yeah, I get that no team plays perfect, Rich. That's not the point. The point is that the fourth line wouldn't even be passable in the AHL right now. Nevertheless, being a fourth line in the NHL, they're unplayable. And I'm sorry if you think this is negative, reaching for content, whatever. I don't give a rat's ass if anyone thinks that. It's there's no justification for how bad this fourth line is right now. And if you want to argue that it's the road trip, if you want to argue that, oh, they'll be fine, they'll be better, okay, I'll give it a few games to see. But I'm telling you right now, if this keeps up for another handful of games, eventually it's going to haunt them and eventually they're going to lose games single-handedly because of the fourth line. If they played a team like New Jersey, and especially if New Jersey's home, and they could put Jack Hughes out there against that fourth line,
Wow, not
Jack
good.
Hughes is getting a hat trick. Sorry, he is.
And even listen, we're not negative. Even Laviolette's saying these things that the performances are not perfect, and that is something I really love from Laviolette because Laviolette's showing that he's a perfectionist right now. He's saying that great, even though we're winning these games, we can still improve on these things, and that's the great thing about him. It's not like Gallant where it's like, oh yeah, we battled. I thought we deserved the end. No, you can't just gloss over these problems. You got to fix them. Sorry.
Yep, and this comment says it all. If you think that some of these performances are acceptable, I beg you to watch Boston, Colorado, and Vegas. They bring it every night. Yes. Yeah. They don't just beat teams, they annihilate teams. And the Rangers have that capability. We're not saying that they don't. All we're saying is if they shake up the fourth line, this team could be a hell of a lot more dangerous because here, if you guys want to hear it this way, I'll put it this way. Expected goals against per 60, the fourth line 3.49. I said it. The second line is second worst in that category in expected goals against per 60. 2.38. They are over a goal less bad defensively than that fourth line. And people talk about how Panarin doesn't do anything defensively. Lafreniere's not even great defensively. Whatever the case may be. It's just not acceptable, this line. They're ranked so far at the bottom of the list in all of hockey in terms of their poor play. I'm sorry, but nobody could justify this for me. I if you want to try to go ahead, if you think again I'm being negative, okay, so be it. I'm just saying it how it is, and I say it every post game. I feel like a broken record now. But all I'm doing is pointing out the good and the bad with this team. I just talked about the good. But yeah, here you go. They are 15th in expected goals against per 60. Out of lines that have played at least 30 minutes. Let's even bump it a bit. Let's see 50. If they've reached that. No, they haven't reached 50. Let's go up to 45 maybe. Yeah, if you go to 45 minutes, they're third worst in that category.
Yep. It's just got to be better. We've covered all the positives. We know this team looks good right now. It's just we're saying it's not going to be perfect, obviously, but you want to fix this issue because it's not sustainable to keep winning when you have a fourth line that's basically unplayable at this point. So
Yeah.
all we're saying is for some improvement there, and then this team is going to be like very, very legitimate. And that's all it is. As you said, Matt, too, Laviolette, it's not like he's sitting there and he's so just, blown away by all these performances. He wants to see a little bit better because he knows he can get a little bit better from this team.
No, look, and then just to back on that, look, no team, I don't care how good you are, no one's going to play a perfect 82 games. It's just not going to happen. Some nights, you're going to have nights like the Nashville game where you just suck the whole way through. But the good teams, the teams that win 55, 60 games, the majority of the games, they dominate those games from minute 1 to minute 60. Not that they play well half the game and don't play well the other half of the game. No, if you look at those teams like Vegas who win over 50 games, probably you look 35 to 40 of their wins are games that they control from minute 1 to minute 60. And then you do have your games where you don't play well, but you battle and you get there in the end. And that's the I'm and that's what I'm just trying to say is you ain't gonna play perfect, and some nights you're gonna battle, but you want to look more consistently like you're dominating than you're just barely hanging on for a win.
Exactly. And I agree that they're playing better defensively and they're good defensively. But like Matt said before, I'm going to repeat it again. Eventually, with that fourth line, if they keep getting pinned in their own end, that it's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. People need to understand how much shot blocking also takes a toll on guys' bodies. It does. Because what's going to happen? Everyone talks about Nick Bonino shot blocking. What happens when Nick Bonino blocks a shot to his wrist? What happens? And he breaks his wrist. He's out for 6 weeks. So I can't defend it. All we're saying is that this team could be really dominant if they had even a okay fourth line. We're not asking for the best fourth line in hockey here. We're just simply asking for better. That's really all it comes down to. And for a realistic fourth line, I mean, you could bring up Brzezinski. They have Riley Nash in the system. I don't know how anyone would feel about him, but he's there. They have Belzile in the system, but you got to plug and play and try things. But the problem is that they're not going to do anything because of Goudreau's contract and because they like Nick Bonino too much in the faceoff dot. But again, I'm if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and they get better. Fine. But for right now, the numbers show it, and I personally am just worried that it's not sustainable. The actual goals against they have versus the expected goals against. It's the nature of the game that things even out. There's a reason why the Rangers lost that series against the Devils last year. So, we'll move on from the fourth line discussion because we could go all night with it. But at the end of the day, just needs to be better. And again, yeah, fine. If you want to say it's a work in progress, if you want to say that things will get better, fine. I'll believe it when I see it. But as for right now, no one could sit here and tell me that these guys are playable. Johnny Brzezinski's tearing it up in Hartford. I'd rather give him a look. Or if you could find a way to improve your team where Coley's on the fourth line, that would be nice. So I digress. We'll move on to which player has impressed you guys the most thus far this season.
Few candidates. I will go. I'm trying to think between a few. I mean, I'll just take it away with Artemi Panarin. We know he's gonna be obviously one of our shouts, so it's got to be said. Artemi Panarin. I mean, not just me. All Ranger fans have just been livid with him over his playoff performances the last years, and now Balls had Panarin just going off to start the season. It's looking like he's gonna shatter that 100 points for the first time in his career. If he just can keep up this trajectory right now, he is aggressive on the forecheck, as you talked about. He's shooting the puck more, and we see, I mean, his shot's lethal, man. If he uses that more, he's scoring a lot of times. So hopefully he keeps that up. He's just making so many good plays for Hito and Lafreniere, and that'll lead to them, just keep hopefully breaking out for this team. And I mean, you really couldn't ask for more, man. He's really living up to that contract right now, and you really love to see it.
Yeah, backing you up on that Panarin point, I think the big thing, and I was screaming about it the last 2 years on the go on with Panarin, that now he's finally he's taking that shoot first approach, and I was screaming about it like the last couple years. So I was like, you have such a good shot, and you're not using it. Why are you handicapping yourself to only your passing ability? And we even saw it in the overtime game against Winnipeg,
That's what I was going to bring up.
where he picked up the puck, and he got Kyle Connor into a position where Kyle Connor's now kind of confused because he's like, shit, because Panarin can take that shot, he can score, but then also he can make the pass over to Mika. So, and he's like, what am I going to do here? So he gets stuck in a mind of two, and Panarin sees the lane over to Mika. Boom, and there you go. That's a goal. And yeah, because he finally has that he's taken that shoot first approach. He's now finally looking more of just an overall offensive dynamic player.
Yeah, he looks confident, and he looks like a guy that actually is he's looking like an $11.6 million man. He looks like one of the best players in the league right now, and I think the thing that's really been impressive with him too is, like I talked about before, his willingness to forecheck this year is far better than it's been in previous years. Like, this is the Panarin that we saw the first 2 years when they got him. I don't know if he got scared because of the Tom Wilson incident or what, but he looks a lot more confident this year. And if Panarin stays confident throughout the year, that's bad news for the rest of the league. It's bad news for the rest of the league. But Matt, who's your pick for the most impressive player thus far?
Um, my guy, I give this guy a lot of slack because of his contract, but I gotta go with Truba. I've been impressed with Truba this year. He just looks a lot more better. His positioning is a lot better. He's not getting caught out of position. He's not having to rely on Keandre Miller to bail him out with his speed. And look, is he ever going to be an $8 million defenseman? No, he's not. Am I jealous that Devontae is locked up to a $7.2 million contract? Absolutely.
So am I.
But if Truba could just be a reliable guy and lead this team, that's all I'm going to ask for. Because I know he's not going to be that $8 million man, but just be reliable, and yeah, just don't get caught out of position, man. Because he is a good defenseman. He's just and I know he was playing hurt last year, but he was never that bad of a defenseman. And I am liking what I'm seeing from him this year.
Yeah, he's been far and away better. And I think part of that we have to give a lot of credit to Phil Housley, who I didn't mention before. He has really, really helped this defense out more than we're giving him credit for, because everyone is just losing sight over the fact that Laviolette is, he came here and, he's the one making all the changes. You got to give credit to his assistants too. Mike Pekka, Phil Housley. These guys are really helping make a difference as well. Mike Peck is also really helping with the faceoff department, because I saw a comment before where was it? Yeah, about being one of the better faceoff teams. Peck is a guy that you could give credit to for that one. The faceoff department looks a lot better. So, yeah, I would agree with you about the Trouba pick. He looks very good defensively. Who do I want to go with? I'm torn between two players, but I think I'm going to save one of these players for later on to talk about. I'm going to go with who I was talking about before, though. Trouba's defensive partner, Keandre Miller, who looks very good and is looking like one of the better two-way defensemen right now in the game. He is not making the same mistakes that we've seen him make in previous years. Granted, there are times where he is making mistakes, but it's, like I said before, it's not even nearly to the degree that he was making in previous years. He's taken massive strides, and then the offense too is starting to get going for him from this road trip. If he could start putting up the points, that is going to be that's going to be huge. That's going to be huge for this team. So Keandre Miller is definitely my pick for that one.
Great pick. I mean, yeah, he's already racked up a goal, 6 assists on the season. The points are starting to flow in for him nicely here as well, and he looks fantastic out there. He's not making nearly as many mistakes he's made in prior years, and he's just unbelievable talent. He's just such a big frame, and with the speed that he has out there to just cover so much ground, it's really special. So him and Trouba, I mean, are not. Well, what we're seeing this year for them is just generational compared to the past few.
Yeah, I would agree, but we'll move on to the next question before we get to disappointing, which, yeah, sorry people, we're going to point out bad things about this team. I know that people don't like that, but who do you guys think has been the unsung hero thus far? And I actually want to start with this because I've been dying to say this guy. I have to go with Will Coley. I think that he's played such an underrated game for the Rangers, and I think that third line would be that third line would be in shambles without him. Could you imagine if Will Coley didn't make the team and we had a third line right now with Trocheck centering Blake Wheeler and Jimmy Vesey potentially? It would be Trocheck playing with two guys who have no idea what they're doing out there. Will Coley is really, you could argue, I'm going to make the argument, people might not agree. I would argue the third line runs through Will Coley right now. I know Trocheck's been good in the faceoff dot, but Will Coley's making the plays on both sides of the puck, and his willingness to forecheck is great. It sucks that he only has one goal on the year. He should have two, but apparently that was a kick and goal for whatever reason. Apparently looking backwards, not looking at the play, that's kicking the puck in, apparently, right? NHL. But yeah, Will Coley's been very underrated. He's been very good. I could have went with another player, but I'm sure one of you are going to mention the guy that I was thinking about, so I'll get to talk about him anyway. But with Will Coley, I think that the third line runs through him. Imagine you get someone to play with those two and they actually score off the rush. If you know who I'm talking about, but we're going to talk about him later. Also, to talk about good quickly again, Fox has been great too. Ron's smirking face. Yeah, he's been good. He's been good too.
You know what? That's funny because I know it might not seem like an unsung hero, Adam Fox, but I just feel like this guy is not getting the credit he deserves right now. Like, I feel like Ranger fans are talking about Panarin, they're talking about Hedel, they're talking about Lafreniere, Cooley, Keandre, Trouba, and we're just forgetting about probably the best defenseman in the NHL, in my opinion, Adam Fox. I mean, this dude on a nightly basis, he just seems to get better somehow. Like it doesn't seem like he could be any better than he is, but my gosh, dude, especially on the power play now, him shooting the puck and just perfectly feeding everyone at just the correct time, his IQ, his defense, just breaking up plays. He's a special player, and man, I don't want to imagine a world where the Rangers don't have Adam Fox on this team right now. He anchors the defense. He's the top guy, obviously. That just it runs through him. He's a special talent, and there's not much more to say than that.
You mentioned too that he's tied for the league lead in points for a defenseman, right? So
I did not mention that, but yeah, on the power play he's been cooking up, getting some goals. Yeah, I think he has 3 goals in the power play. So, I mean, it's really just flowing nicely for him right now.
Yeah, the hockey guy said it best. He saw Erik Karlsson pot 100 last year, didn't win the Norris, and he said, "I'm going to take this personally." So, Adam Fox has been. I really am curious once this team becomes a very well-oiled machine and Laviolette's system fully kicks into gear with this team. I'm very curious to see how Adam Fox is going to be because he's playing at this level right now. Imagine what is going to happen when this team gets the system down pat and Adam Fox, it's just easy for him at that point. So, yeah, Adam Fox has definitely been, I would agree that an unsung hero fits the title for him. But, Matt, who's your pick?
I'm going to go with Will Cooley's line mate, Vinny Trocheck. I've been very impressed with Trocheck's game so far this year. We've been saying the last couple of years that his place is on is the third line center role, and wouldn't you know, that's his best place because that role's fitting him like a glove. I mean, he's doing the same things that we saw he was doing in Carolina. His two-way ability is looking good. He's not the greatest offensive player, but he can certainly chip in with a couple goals, couple assists. His defensive play has been really good so far, especially in the neutral zone, breaking up passes, being physical along the boards. And then also the big thing is his face-offs because statistically he's our best face-off taker. So yeah, I got to go Vinny Trocheck.
Yeah, and who were the ones banging the drum for him to be on the third line to start the year? All of us were. It was pretty obvious that he did not fit with Artemi Panarin. We saw it in the preseason too with that disastrous Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere line. That line was a nightmare. But
listen, we saw that firsthand. It was not pretty.
Oh, at the Islander Ranger game, that was one of the worst lines I've seen in preseason. But with preseason in general, I gotta start feeling the opposite apparently with the preseason, because preseason, Jonathan Quick's cooked. Right now, he looks good. Oh, I mean, something stayed consistent. Braden Schneider's, we'll talk more about him, but yeah. And then Panarin, I was worried about him. Look at him right now. Lafreniere, I was worried about him. Look at him now. And then Kakko, he had a good preseason. Elias Anderson 2.0 there. I don't know. Not saying he's that bad. I'm not saying he's playing that bad to Elias Anderson's level. I'm just saying, though, we were hyped about Elias Anderson preseason not too long ago, and then he ended up disappointing. But yeah, I think Trocheck deserves that shout. I'm gonna give a mention though to the guy that I was going to that I thought one of you guys would mention, that was torn between, but Eric Gustafsson's that guy for me. He deserves a lot of credit because the New York Rangers finally have a competent third pair defenseman. Say goodbye to the Patrick Nemeth days. Say goodbye to the Jarrett Sonorti days. Say goodbye to the Nico Mikkola days, and whoever, Ben Harper. Who else am I forgetting? Regardless, though, say goodbye to those days because they actually have a guy that can move the puck back there, and he's quarterbacking power play too, and he's doing a good job at it. I, for the life of me, can't understand them putting Blake Wheeler back on the second power play, but I digress. But yeah, Eric Gustafsson, he is really, really helped out this team, and I said it when they signed him. That was going to be a very underrated sign. Yeah, Lieber Hayek too. I don't know how I forgot about him. But yeah, we've seen some bad sixth defensemen. Gustafsson is definitely far and away better than these guys that we've seen over the past few years. And he's improving the team in a lot of different areas. But let's move on to back to the negative. Who has been disappointing thus far? And I think that realistically, this boils down to, I mean, let's throw some restrictions on here. Let's try and stay away from all the guys on the fourth line. Let only one person pick the fourth line, especially because we just ripped them apart. No, let's do no fourth liners. No fourth liners allowed. Let's pick from there. Who wants to start?
Go ahead, Matt.
I'm gonna go to a guy I said earlier in the podcast. It's Kakko, because again, I was expecting a big season from Kakko. I was saying 60 points, 30 goals, 30 assists. This was gonna be his breakout year. But that guy that we saw in preseason, like I said earlier, that guy who was was dominating down low, driving play, making plays along the boards. I'm just not seeing that same guy. And yet again, the production, while I still think he can get there, it's not looking good. In 9 games, he only has 1 goal, 1 assist for 2 points. And eventually, we have to start asking questions. Is this guy ever going to get to that potential that we want him to be?
Sadly, it's starting to look more and more like Mike Tomlin on Antonio Brown returning to the Steelers for that, because I really don't know if I don't know what Kakko's potential is anymore. Like, I'm worried, and I know people are going to come in here and be like, well, his line mates aren't producing 5v5 either. Yeah, but there's nothing he's really doing that's showing me that it's that. He visibly looks like he's not doing much out there. So, yeah, I agree with the Kakko pick entirely. But, Nico, who are you picking? I think I know who, but let's just hear it. Just say it.
Number 17, Blake Wheeler. I mean, good God almighty.
But yeah.
I mean, look, he sucked in preseason. We kind of expected him to just be trash, but I mean, if he told me he didn't have one singular point in the first 9 games of the season, I still wouldn't have believed you. I mean, this dude, he needs to start his career at McDonald's flipping burgers already, man. You had a good NHL career, fine in Winnipeg, but you just gotta go now.
Get ready to learn register knees, buddy.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Blake Wheeler, I don't know how to put it outside of the fact that he is beyond cooked. And it's sad too. It's sad too, because this offseason, right before they signed Wheeler and we heard rumblings, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I was skeptical about them signing Wheeler, and I'm like, I don't know if I like the player. And then
Mm-hmm.
I was like, also, he's probably gonna sign for $2 million. Like, is this a smart move? And then he signed for $800K, and all of a sudden, my entire mood changed.
Then
I
we
was,
had the champagne out.
yeah, we thought the champagne was in the fridge at that point. We were high fiving over the screen. We were celebrating the signing because it was $800K. It's like, wow, we get a 50-point player for $800K. Not bad. And even if he doesn't put 50 points for $800K, if he puts up like 30, fine. Y'all know that ain't happening. He's not putting up 30. That's even worse. Like, I would say the chances of that are lower than Antonio Brown returning to the Steelers. Like, Blake Wheeler putting up 30 points is not happening. He needs to be cut at some point. And I know he's a great guy. I feel bad because he is a good person, and I wanted him to succeed here, obviously, because he's on my favorite hockey team, and that's just the way it is. But there's no way anyone could make excuses for him too. Like, I'm tired of people talking about him needing to get acclimated and everything. This isn't a matter of him getting acclimated. His foot speed is visibly worse, and he's visibly bad out there. We saw it in the preseason, and people are like, "Oh, he's adjusting. He'll get it back." We're 9 games in, and there is still not a sign of life from Blake Wheeler. Like, this is, it's worse than not good. Like, I don't know what to say with Blake Wheeler. Again, it sucks because I talked myself into the signing, and Jet fans tried to warn us too that it was not a good signing, but we all just did the yeah, we don't want it, we don't care what you say. He put up 50 points. But realistically, where is it? Playing with Connor and Scheifele gets you 3 points. Maybe if we took more stock into that.
Yeah, and listen, if you're not convinced that Blake Wheeler is not a detriment to the team after the first goal that the Jets scored in that game, then I don't know what to tell you, because he turned over the puck in our own blue line and then didn't back check, and then what do you know? Winnipeg scores. It's 1-1 at that point.
Listen, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, because hey, at the end of the day, I was wrong in a way about the signing in general, because I was excited about the signing and it looks bad. So maybe I'll be wrong about being right when I was hoping to be wrong before. I don't know if I'm phrasing that right, but regardless, you get the point that fine, if he proves me wrong, he proves me wrong, and I'll be happy with that. But it's hard to imagine a guy who is 37 years old, who did not have good foot speed to begin with, looks visibly slower out there, and is behind every single play. It's hard to imagine that he's going to be better and start producing. I just don't see it. And on the back checks, he's just non-existent. Everyone complained about Patrick Kane's defense. I mean, Blake Wheeler's defense is that any better?
It's worse. It's worse. I mean, I don't know how anyone could argue that from what we've seen with Patrick Kane on the Rangers compared to what we've seen from Blake Wheeler here.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried about Wheeler, but yeah, to finish addressing this comment, yeah, we can't say anything for certainty, and yeah, that's why even with the positives, because the Rangers are playing good defensively and all those other things that we mentioned that was positive, we can't say for certainty. You're not wrong there, but this is just that's why the question's labeled thus far. But for my disappointing player, I think that this one is fairly obvious, partially because I teased him and because I ripped him to shreds in the preseason. It's Brain Schneider. And listen, I'm not going to say that he's having the worst season. I'm not going to sit here and completely rip him to shreds, because he's had games where he has looked very good and dominant and looked like a guy that that plays like very, very good defense and does what a third pair defenseman should do, especially for a guy that's young and should have potential. But I was so sure in the offseason that this guy was ready to take the next step and become a guy that could even be in the mix for the second pair. Right now, he doesn't look, I'm not saying he looks horrendous. Like, this isn't as much of a layup as the Goudreau pick or a Wheeler pick or who was the first guy we talked about too?
Kako.
Kako, yeah. I'm not saying it's as much of a layup as those guys, but Schneider, I don't think anyone could say they've been like super pleased with his play entirely. He needs to be consistent. I think that's really the key with him is that he's just way too inconsistent. That goal in the Winnipeg game, sure, Igor should stop that one because I think that was a low danger chance. But at the end of the day, Schneider can't go chasing behind the net when you already have someone behind the net and your forwards are not there on the back check. You can't go chasing behind the net there. So he went out of position and it's just happened way too much. He did it all preseason. And this is a problem with the team in general, which we talked about before with the breakouts needing to be better. But it just feels like with Schneider too, he struggles to break the puck out more than anyone on this team. Like there are way too many times he ices the puck and it's a problem. But again, I'm not sitting here saying that I'm super panicked about Schneider because he's still only 22 years old. He could be better. And at the end of the day, the Rangers did rush him. There's no way around that. But yeah, I just would like to see a bit more from Schneider. That's really all it is. It's not like I'm going to completely rip him to shreds, but yeah, I just want to see better from him. But
yeah, and then just to back that up, because even when Schneider is playing okay, he'll go out and he'll just make a dumb mistake, like on Winnipeg's second goal. He goes in, he makes the pinch, and I thought it was a good pinch. Because he made it there, but for whatever reason, he felt that he had to one time the puck, and he didn't. He had time to stop it and then make a play with it. So yeah, it's those little things with him, even when he's having an average game.
sorry, I just had to read that text that was going on. Off air stuff for tomorrow. Off air stuff. I'll talk about it with you guys after, but yeah, we'll move on and segue to the talk of the Bird app today, or the X app, whatever the kids are calling it these days, right? But
Showtime, baby.
Yeah, Patrick Kane returning. Is it Showtime on Broadway Part 2? And it took me a second to realize it took. I hope people in chat get that. I hope people in chat understand what was being done there. That was well done, Nico.
You will with how much we do it on this channel. Talk about that one.
I didn't think it was possible to recreate it. You did it. You did it spot on too. You did it better than I could imagine, man.
Wait, me?
No, Nico. He did.
Oh,
it
took me a second to realize that he was doing it. Because I'm like, why is he turning to the side?
I completely missed that.
Oh, we'll be screenshotting that one. It's gonna be like what I did with my picture.
Yeah,
we're gonna start using that with LeBron. But yeah, Showtime on Broadway Part 2. So everybody knows Miracle Man. We know the story with Avery. He ended up tweeting. Let's get his exact tweet up because I don't want to even try to remember exactly what he tweeted. Here it is. So he said, while it is very preliminary, I would be lying if I said I haven't heard anything on 88. Then someone said, what did you hear? And he quote tweeted saying, let's make one thing clear. When I say something, it doesn't mean it's going to happen today or tomorrow, but I heard something and would be remiss if I didn't share it with you all. If you guys are not familiar with Avery's game, you should be familiar with it. He shouldn't have to prove himself because he was the one that broke the Tarasenko news before any insider did, and he was dead on the money with all the Patrick Kane talk. So
he knew everything. He knew more than Elliot Friedman, Frank Servalli on Kane. He's all over it. He obviously knows stuff. So keep an eye out. Keep an eye out.
Yeah, we're not saying it's a lock to happen, but like Nico did before, like our good friend Mbappe, sort of said. It only took me a while to realize it was a fake quote, but we need that more than anything. So, yeah, I think that it just makes too much sense, does it not? Because people are trying to say it doesn't, but let's just put it this way, the way that I keep putting it. Could everybody answer this question? Who's a better hockey player, Blake Wheeler or Patrick Kane? Go. Everybody answer it.
Patty Kane.
Chat, leave your answers. That's all that needs to be said.
The conversation's done there, right? But apparently it's not for people. Apparently we're not allowed to. And I knew this comment was going to come. Knew it was going to come. My issue with Kane is that if he's anything like Backstrom or the other two players that had the surgery, I'd rather get an ad for the bottom six. Well, I could tell you right now, two things. One, you're comparing apples to oranges. Nicholas Backstrom was declining well before the surgery. So that's not a comparison. And then Ryan Kessler is the other. He was 39 years old. We can't sit here and say that Ryan Kessler was going to make a comeback and be anything close to what he was, or however old he was. He was like 37, whatever it was. Kane, sure, he's 34, about to be 35, so he's not that much younger. But regardless, he did not show signs of declining. He showed before playing on one hip, he showed that he could still play at a very good level. So imagine what he'll do healthy. And also, people just for whatever reason ignore players that had the surgery that ended up coming back being fine. Look at Brad Marchand right now. He had the same exact surgery. There has not been any sign of regression or anything in Brad Marchand's game. So, yeah, I can't I can't take that argument because it's comparing apples to oranges. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And Patrick Kane does slow down from the surgery, but I just don't see how he gets worse after cleaning up the issue that he had, and he still played good. And I think the thing that people keep getting misconstrued here is that Patrick Kane we're not asking him to come in and be the guy. That's not what the point of bringing Patrick Kane is for. The point is that you need to get better 5v5. He would help with that. He would improve the second power play, and he would also improve that third line where Blake Wheeler is not doing good enough. So imagine how much they'd score off the rush, that line. And last thing I'll mention before you guys talk, if Will Coley and Vinny Trocheck could cover for Blake Wheeler, then come on. Patrick Kane's a way better skater than Blake Wheeler. I don't think I'm breaking news. And he would back check better than Wheeler, but I'll let you guys take the floor since apparently I'm not letting you guys talk. And I'm sorry. I can't shut up. I know, Gerald. I know I can't shut up.
No, but those, on a serious note, those are the two arguments that I don't get why people put up. I realize that Patrick Kane isn't the same player that he was back in 2013, 2015. But I'm not asking him to be that. I'm not asking him to be a 90-point, 100-point player. I'm just asking him to slide on that third line and be a 40 to 50-point player. And to all those people that say, oh, but Patrick Kane, he's going to make the third line worse. How? I argue he makes that third line even better. Why? He brings his playmaking ability and goal-scoring ability. And while Trocheck and Cooley are good players, they are not offensively dynamic like Patrick Kane. So while Patrick Kane brings those two abilities, you have Vinny Trocheck, who can chip in with goals as well, brings you his faceoff ability and his two-way ability. Then you have Will Cooley, who can also chip in with a goal or two. He's a good power forward. He can get on the forecheck, and he's reliable defensively. How can you not look at those three players, those three attributes they bring to the table, and not say that's a good third line?
Oh god. I mean, just great points. And to keep adding on, he's gonna be cheap 1-year deal. What is the downside to that? If he comes back and he really is cooked after the surgery, you don't have an attachment to him. Fine. But I mean, from what we've seen videos, he looks unreal. He looks really good. He's training hard to get back. He said if he's healthy, he knows he can still be a top player. I'm taking Patrick Kane's word there and thinking he'll come back very strong. And I mean, he's got a chip on his shoulder coming back to the New York Rangers here, as a lot of speculations going on. He comes back. I think he's going to really make a big impact for this team. I know he's not supposed to be the guy here. We're not saying that this isn't, you know, the Showtime from 2015. Obviously, I think he's still a very good player if he's healthy. But I mean, if he could just come in and contribute, that's all we're asking for. And there's just no asset you have to give up. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's a great idea. I don't see how a lot of people don't think that's a good idea, but I mean, hey, everyone's to each their own.
And then another positive, bringing back Kane is, like you said, he's cheap. He'll probably be 2 million at most, but he also gives us options. Will be Jack Harlow. So no, but like we were saying earlier, with Kako struggling on that first line, if you really want, you could slide in Kane on that first line, and you could move Kako down to that third line. I'm seeing a lot more positives than negatives about this Patrick Kane, about bringing back Patrick Kane, and I just have no idea why people just don't want him. I don't see it.
Absolutely. Not much more to be said. No, they got him not wanting to talk.
I'm not gonna shut up. You guys both made every point that I was gonna make, especially about the fact that what Nico said. The main point that everybody seems to be missing. Everyone's like, why not get Vetrano? Why not get Tarasenko? Why not get Duclair? Patrick Kane is a free agent. It costs nothing to get him. Why give up assets when Patrick Kane's on the open market? Also, come on. I'm not saying Kane's going to be that level, but even Patrick Kane, if he's not at the same level that we saw in his prime, I still would imagine he's going to be close to or on par at least with Tarasenko. That's just my opinion, but with the third line, and this is fair too. If the Rangers want to go the route, if they want to go the route of playing him on the first line, go ahead. I'm fine with that, but I don't know what their preference is, and whatever it is, it is. I as long as Kane comes back, like you said, then you got options like your Jack Harlow. If you end up bringing him back for the top 9, you have guys you could rotate. And to answer the question about who would get out of the lineup, Blake Wheeler.
Blake Wheeler for sure.
I mean,
I don't see anyone else
unless it's Goudreau, but even then, Blake Wheeler on that fourth line.
Nah. And that's the benefit of having Wheeler's contract. It's only $800K. It's such a movable contract. I mean, who wouldn't really just take a flyer on him for $800K, especially if you're a bottom of the barrel team?
Nico, I can't stop thinking about you doing the Mbappe post. That's why I'm sitting here laughing right now. But
we gotta get the screenshot for that.
Yeah, we do.
You gotta put it side by side. Compare it.
Absolutely.
The only thing is, wait.
The banner was covering it a little bit.
Yeah, the banner covered it a bit. That's the only. Do you want to take another shot at it?
I don't know if
I don't know if you're gonna do it as good as the first time. You still got it. You still got it.
Oh my God. That's my thoughts on Patrick Kane return to the Rangers. That face right there. Call me Kylian Mbappe.
Bro, out the full name. I gotta get the screenshot of that, but yeah, I think that. So I think we're all in agreement that we want. Sorry, let's get the screenshot for it. I think we're all in agreement though that we want Patrick Kane back. Outside of a few people on Twitter, but you have a bone to pick with me. Someone has a bone to pick with me in chat. Why do you got a bone to pick with me? Why do I keep going off the rails here? What is wrong with me? But yeah, I think we're all in agreement that it makes too much sense to bring Patrick Kane back, but that's just me. Like, we need that more than anything. We really need that more than anything. a
Yeah,
Patrick
gotta-
Kane reunion.
That's so quick.
You gotta make that your profile pic on Twitter.
Oh,
You
that's a
should.
good
That's a good idea.
What a shout. Yeah. After the stream, that's a new profile picture.
We
That's
laugh at the
unreal.
dumbest shit, but I love it.
Some
I
people
love
are
it.
probably so confused. No, I think you got a response from this guy.
Okay, Mika Hughes. Okay. So you said at the start you had no faith in Quick. Yeah, Quick is playing the best hockey for the Rangers, and he's been stepping up when counted. So, Mr. Quick, tell Ranger Central, eat your heart out. Listen, I said it
mean,
before.
A lot of people said it though.
Said it before. I'll say it again. I want to see it consistently. But from the two games, Mr. Jonathan Quick, since you're seeing this, apparently, I am deeply sorry for my actions of talking garbage about you. I should not have doubted you. Should not have doubted Benoit Allaire. Both of you are too good to be doubted. I was just salty because you ruined my childhood, Jonathan. You ruined a little boy's dream of being at a Stanley Cup parade wearing his 2012 Brad Richards Winter Classic jersey. You ruined that dream for me, Jonathan. It's nothing personal. It's me. It's just me. Not you, Jonathan. I'm gonna get emotional. Think about it.
It's not good enough. I need to see tears.
I'm getting emotional. I'm about to cry. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. Because I was Jonathan.
If
I was just a child with dreams. There are times where my head hits the pillow and I wonder, not to go all Kanye West on you, but I wonder if what could have been if the Rangers just won just once in my life. And you stripped that from me, Jonathan. My one and only hope and chance. Yeah, they were the better team in 2012. Yeah, they were better in 2015, but still. What would have happened in 2012 too? If you beat... Would you have ripped, Jonathan, little boy's heart out of his chest twice? Is that what you would have done, Jonathan? You don't know what you did to me.
Unforgivable
You?
actions.
Andre Palat, Adam Henrique,
and Slava Voinov.
all of you, I grew up just known to hate you. And times have changed.
Don't forget about Alec.
And I'm sorry.
Don't forget about Alec Martinez too.
What'd I miss?
Who?
Alec.
Alec Martinez.
Alec Martinez.
No. Alec Martinez.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, Jonathan, like, this is all that I was asking from you. Just, all you had to do was just move out of the way. I'm gonna get emotional again! Fuck! Just tell Dwight King to get the fuck off Henrik! Tell Dwight King to get the fuck off! Or tell the refs.
Like so many bad.
That was not okay. Weren't you in my position at one point, Jonathan? But you know what the difference is, Jonathan, between me and you? You know what the difference is? You both got to not only just watch the Rangers win in 94, because you grew up a fan. You not only got to watch, you got to do it yourself twice. 3 times, sorry. 3 times. You did it 3 times. You have your name on that trophy in 3 different parts. Probably on 2 different rings of the cup at this point. Jonathan, all I ask, just win 15 games for me this year. And all is forgiven. And I better see you, even though you're not going to, you better not be playing in May and June. All in April. But all I'm asking is for you to do it a 4th time. And all It's forgiven. And that's
Alright.
my apology.
I think we'll need to schedule a couple more therapy sessions after this one.
Definitely.
I'm sorry that it hit close to home, Luke.
That did, man.
You know,
Bit too close.
he just... I want to like him because he has so much aura, but man, to that guy, I'm jealous of you, Jonathan. It's really a jealousy thing. I played goalie when I was a kid. I wanted to be you. Watch the Rangers win a cup. Win Stanley Cups myself. And then play for the Rangers. It's just a jealousy thing, Jonathan. That's all it is. This is all masking for me too. All is forgiven.
We'll be there.
We need it. We need that more than anything.
Yeah, we do. I was just a little boy, surrounded by laughing Islander fans who, mind you, hadn't seen their team win a playoff series in their entire lifespan at that point.
Oh, the irony.
And you ruined my chance of glory! You know what I did, Jonathan? You know what I did? After that Stanley Cup run, I still went in on the first day of school the next year and wore that 2014 conference champion shirt. Imagine it's a Stanley Cup champions. And I didn't get picked on. My way too early list of deadline pickups: Sprung, Eberle, Kapanen, and Barabanov. I'd be on board with a couple of those guys. I don't know if Eberle's going to be available. Sprung I wanted in the offseason too. That would have been a good ad. How's Kapanen doing? Barabanov though is a guy that I'd be interested in. Barabanov's he's a good player. Good player. He's a hockey player.
Currently, Kapanen has in 7 games 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points.
Better than Goudreau. Bar's low, but it's better.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the intangibles.
Can't forget about the intangibles, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me stand up and turn around so you can hear me next time I talk out of my ass. I'm sorry. That was very wrong of me.
And are we forgetting, is Kasperi Kapanen a 2-time Stanley Cup champion? I don't think so.
Nope. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Are you saying I gotta make my channel profile pic Jonathan Quick?
What?
You know what?
Might just have to be done for a day.
You reminded me of something. I'll be back. Hold down the fort, guys. I'll be back.
What is he cooking?
Should we be scared?
I don't know what to feel. I don't.
He's coming back with the Jonathan Quick jersey.
No way. For Toronto's great.
Hey, listen. Some people own Blake Wheeler jerseys and some people own Jonathan Quick jerseys.
Yes. Ranger jerseys of Blake Wheeler and Jonathan Quick. Yeah, Vetrano, we can't bring in Vetrano. He doesn't have those intangibles and 2 cups.
Nah.
No go.
Who cares that he has 9 goals in 9 games?
Needs more.
Yeah, needs more.
Give me 18, double that.
If you're not a 2-goal per game player, then can't have you. Not over Mr. Intangibles himself.
God almighty.
And he's the only one who could carry the Lightning to back-to-back cups.
Why can't I find this?
Mr. Quick is waiting, he said. Mr. Quick is waiting here. Hurry up. He might have found it.
I have not found it.
Oh.
Keep
Not
buying
good.
time. Keep buying time. I'll find it.
What else do we have in chat?
I don't think he wants to see this.
That's a scary photo, man. Why'd you have to do that? Kane does come back. How many points? I mean, it depends when he comes back. And like how many games he plays for the Rangers. I'll give you an average point per game number. I'll go. I really think he could be I think he could put up more points than games played. I really do. Depends where he is though. Third line.
If he comes in and he's a 40 to 50 point player, that's all I'm asking from him.
Yeah, even that, like, if he averages like 0.80 average per game, like I'm taking that all day. But I really think he could be point per game if he like plays a lot of minutes, like on that top line.
Because it's like we were saying, he doesn't have to be the guy. He just got to be a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, especially if he plays on that third line, he's gonna be playing against third caliber players, third line caliber players. So he could definitely rack up the points. And it's not like Vinny Trocheck and Will Cooley are bad players. They are really good. And I really do think that third line could take the next step if someone like a Kane is put there.
Oh man, need it more than anything.
What All right,
is this guy
I give
doing?
up. I give up.
Oh, I couldn't find it.
I couldn't find it, but
what is he cooking?
But
yo, get.
I wish I knew where it went.
Get Luke Superfish's comment up.
Intangibles 21 banner. 4 years. That's a great comment. Yeah.
It's things like this that make me. It's things like that that just make me feel a certain way.
He's gonna go on a rampage again.
Dwight King had intangibles too, though, right? Dwight King had intangibles.
He's gonna go on a Frank the Tank rant.
Frank.
Barclay Goodrow has no heart. He's feeble.
He's my
feeble.
God. Frank is a Ranger fan.
No, you got.
Oh, yeah, the clap.
If Frank was a Ranger fan.
Barclay, no Goodrow. Barclay, no Goodrow is feeble. I love the video.
Grades.
I love the video when he met Luke Hughes and he's like, "Hi, I'm Frank the Tank," as if it was his meet and greet.
We gotta go to a Met game next year and just sit behind them the whole game, or stand behind them the whole game.
Nico, you were lucky
that.
Yeah, Nico, you're lucky the opening day game.
I'm telling you.
This guy is
I forgot about the video. I need to use that more. I can use that for multiple players on the Rangers.
Blake Wheeler.
Blake Wheeler specific. That's a legendary one. Who is he referring to in that again?
Brooks Raley.
Oh yeah, Brooks Raley. Oh, dude.
I'm so mad that I couldn't find what I was looking for. I'm devastated. Truly devastated.
Were you trying to find your no quit in New York shirt?
Oh boy.
Wait, was it actually?
Why am I here? No, but why am I here? Why am I here? Get called a Mike whore. Get told I'm a jerk off for being too negative. I the asshole I am a couple weeks ago just threw Talon Boyko in a trade. People in chat making me apologize to my childhood enemy. No, it's fine. I'm just here though. I'm I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm just here. In all seriousness, I'm mad that I couldn't find it. I was. No, I'm not. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it.
Maybe another
I
time.
can't do it. I can't do it. I simply like. I'm actually kind of glad I couldn't find it. Because to be honest with you, I don't know if I would have stomached it myself. I would have. I don't think I would have made it. I don't think I would have made it. Mr. Gurjo here and Mr. Quick and Mr. Frank, we are super angry. Why are you ranting on us? I wonder if Drury looks at Ngurjo's intangibles and makes the Mbappe face. Oh my god.
On the bright side, Rangers going 8-2 tomorrow. That's a big game. That's gonna determine a lot.
Yeah.
No, but the jerk off I am is wearing a 2022 one right now. So what the fuck's the difference, right?
We're just losers. Mets 2015.
Oh, but the difference is they didn't win the conference championship that year. That's right. That's right.
Yep.
It's all because of you, Andre Palat.
Hate that guy.
How is it?
And because Ryan Strom couldn't bury it and open that goal in Game 5. But
You're a sicko. You're a sicko for bringing that up. The fact that I witnessed the same amount of playoff wins last postseason, I witnessed a Rangers playoff win the same amount as I witnessed the Knicks win a playoff game last year. I witnessed the same amount of playoff wins at the Garden for the Rangers as I did the Knicks. I hate it here. I hate it here sometimes. But it's fine. They're going to do it this year. Jonathan's here. They're going to do it. Goudreau's going to have 3 cups.
Barclay Goodrill's going to win the Conn Smythe for the most intangibles in the playoff run.
And Goudreau's going to be Goudreau's sitting here watching it like this, like just hearing you say that.
Yeah, seriously.
He's gonna win the MVI, most valuable intangibles.
Most valuable intangibles. All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. We went so off the rails.
Yeah, it can't be a Ranger Central podcast without going off the rails a bit.
We were doing so good, and then the Jonathan Quick thing happened.
Yeah.
But we'll end it here. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. Don't forget to leave a like on your way out if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you guys are new. And we'll see you guys in the next one tomorrow for the post game. So be on the lookout for that. I don't know. It's going to be late. It's going to be late, the post game, probably because you guys will find out on Twitter why. But I'll see you guys in the next one.